I pressed the wrong button. My apologies. We are back
Okay.
live. So we'll give everybody a moment to get themselves back together and get back to us. But go ahead, Mr. Floyd.
But if a auditor is done, it is those person that is in that role
Right.
that is looked at. Now, my understanding, like he said in the letter, he did transfer after that particular point in time, which he asked to have his name removed, a check to the Martin Luther King Committee from Lumby Bank. But the
Mm-hmm.
question of it is, it seems to me that in order to that, and but I'm gonna use the word joint account because there's more than one name that appeared on it,
Right.
that it should have taken a action from the board of directors to give him that authority to move, to move money. You just can't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not your money, it's organization money with names attached to it. So,
Absolutely.
but what he, but when he appeared before the city council, when I'm saying city council, DJ Hare, then my understanding from one of the committee members that were there that he identified himself as still the chief officer of the organization. But he
Mm-hmm.
said that he wanted that he will stay on to help and advise Mrs. Davis. Now,
Right.
now to stay on and help and advise. That's why we're in the problem that we are now. And I don't see it getting any better. Now, what the city council is waiting on from the committee is to get the information to put it
Mm-hmm.
up for bid. Right now, the city can only look at the money that the county and the city has appropriated.
Right.
The other money was given to the Martin Luther King Committee. The city need to have that money in its possession, it seems to me, so that they can know the total amount of the bid process.
Right.
Because that means that the committee, uh, if you can find the board and convene the board, to turn that money over to the city. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the city, thing that the city can receive a true bid on, and I'm not employed with the city, is the
Mm-hmm.
money that the city and the county have. They cannot go with maybe if the committee has $2 million left, is to let the bid go for $7 million. They don't have that $2 million in their hand. So that
Mm-hmm.
means that the taxpayer would have to make up the difference. And knowing Doug, as keen as he is as a city manager, he gonna want to have that money in hand before he let that bid out.
Well, and there's been enough friction in terms of projects that they are going to. I think this comes at a horrible time for this organization because they will not have the benefit of grace because there's a lot of scrutiny where projects are concerned. So
Yes.
while I think that it's very good that Mr. Ford did decide to step out of this position, especially given the level of confusion that is currently taking place. I think that it is unrealistic for him to think that he is absolved of any responsibility of anything that happened during his tenure. That's just not how it works.
No,
You
it
don't
does.
get to leave a job and say, I'm done. Whatever I did doesn't count anymore because I quit. It just does not. It does not work that way. So I hope that there's nothing to see here. You know how
But
people I say nothing to see here, move along. I hope there really is nothing to see here, and we're not alleging that there is. But what we are
no,
saying
no.
is this is extremely confusing. And the level of confusion, like even to the point where there's correspondence now where Mr. Ford is saying, I've given all of the records to this person, or this person, and you can go and talk to them about it. They're like, I don't have any of this stuff that he's referencing. And so it's just confusion and the level of confusion. But this is the thing that I'm learning, Mr. Floyd. I am learning that chaos and confusion are hallmarks of governance in our community. Like there's a spirit in our community that just permits the prevalence of chaos and confusion. And for some reason, we as a community accept that as a standard and as a norm.
What
We
you,
don't require for people to clean up their mess.
what you, I mean, in this instance, for so long, just like the question, some members say is that when a check need to be, uh, uh, you know, sent to a vendor,
Hmm.
there there was no generated receipt given to the financial secretary, which should have been the treasurer, the documentation that they say that a check was just signed and given it to Mr. Ford
Hmm.
to pay the vendor, is
Just a
that the
blank
person,
check. Just a blank check.
just a blank check. And so that person, based upon how the system works, you know, is supposed to be the keeper of the record. Now, having said that, and I don't know, in talking with one of the members, the CPA expressed that he preferred not to have a relationship with certain people of the Martin Luther King Committee. Okay, and that same and a similar conversation was made as it relates to King English when that money was transferred from Lumby Bank to
Hmm.
Truett Bank. There's a tremendous air of communication as it relates to King English that follow certain people of the organization, if you understand what I mean.
Hmm.
I know it sounds confusing, but
It is
sometimes you
confusing.
got to you have to know, T, how you communicate with people. Okay. Language is important. That is true. And people just don't like for you to talk to them in a
Any
unique
old
way.
kind of way.
They don't like that. They don't, I mean, because coming from the treasurer of the committee now, the CPA indicated that he would no longer work with this particular person going forward.
Right. And the
You know,
thing about it is, Mr. Floyd, when you need somebody, you are beholden to how they want to be treated. You are
yeah,
beholden to how they want to be treated. And I think at this point, for our purposes, we really need to be paying attention to whether or not an audit is performed where these funds are concerned. And if an audit is performed, how we will move forward with whatever the findings are.
it's going to
That's
take that, T.
really, say
It's going to
again?
take that. It's going to take
Absolutely.
that because right now, when you look at it, there was two accounts for the Martin Luther King Committee, one at Lumby Bank and one
Hmm.
at Truett Bank, in which Mr. Ford told us at a meeting that the committee, that the director gave him the authority to move that money from Lumby Bank to Truett Bank. So
Hmm.
the question, right? Where is the documentation?
Right. How much
And
was moved and what's happened ever since then?
there there was no documentation
Mr.
presented
Floyd, why
that the
should this
board.
even matter to the community? Because we talk a lot about this, but sometimes we forget to remind the people why this should matter. This is their money. These are tax
This
dollars.
that is tax dollars and tax dollars from the state and also tax dollars from the county and city that's going to be forward to this organization. So knowing, not that I know Doug is a manager. Before he go into this project, he gonna have to have, he will demand, I'm using the word demand, not in that way,
He will
some
require.
form,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
to make sure that everything is proper and in order because he cannot, just repeat, he cannot let out a bid and knowing that they are spending their portion of the money one way when he assuming that they are holding that money and is going to work with the city and and moving this project forward. We have, as they say, what the saying say, Houston, we have a
We
problem.
have a problem.
Problem. And that's what we have here. And all this affect the various programs and agencies and organizations that is doing Martin Luther King project because people
And let me say
think
this
they're
because
all
now there
related.
it's like Right. And there's this conversation now of the committee moving forward with the MLK parade. And I will say this. Um, I said this to you when we talked about it. I said, I think this needs to be a time where they sort of sit down and get their stuff together and don't be too worried about programmatic things. Be more concerned about making sure y'all got y'all stuff together. We appreciate you wanting to still put forward the parade. We truly do. It is a staple in the community, and we're not upset that you want to have that conversation. Yet we want to make sure that if chewing gum and walking at the same time is complicated, that you focus on one or the other. And if you have to choose one, we're asking that you choose figuring out who the committee members are, making sure that that's in order, figuring out who the executive board members are, making sure that that's cleaned up, identifying roles, responsibilities, and how everything works, making sure that you guys are operating according to that standard, and then figuring out where the money is and getting all that
But
cleaned up. That should be priority.
all that sound good, but and I sent to you some communication wherein that the person said that this information was provided, on a spreadsheet. Okay. And
Hmm.
that information responded back. I have not seen a spreadsheet. I have not received any information.
Well, and
Can
in
you
full
send it?
transparency, we've seen some stuff, but the stuff that we've seen is not true documentation because I'm gonna tell y'all like my campaign treasurer told me, a spreadsheet is not the same as deposit slips and withdrawal
Mm,
slips. So
yeah.
if you cannot demonstrate, I appreciate your spreadsheet. Thank you for that. Now give me your bank statements so that I can reconcile your spreadsheet with these bank statements.
Well, see, that's the problem. They call it the yellow book report. But
The
we
yellow
have
book
we
audit.
yeah, yeah we have we have a problem. And at the present, I don't see that's getting any better there, because Mr. Ford said that he's going to stay on to to help Mrs. Davis move the program forward. Again, T, that's why we're in the problem that we have now.
Right,
You, you,
right.
so I don't see how his action helping her move the project of the committee forward is going to help.
Yeah, we don't really
I mean,
need his involvement. Mr. Floyd,
no,
let me ask you a question. You brought something up about I know that you guys are getting ready to you guys are still gearing up for this zoning conversation. Well, there's some other conversations going on that affect neighborhoods. One of them being who controls the curb in a neighborhood. So Fayetteville is debating over parking. The city of Fayetteville is debating over parking. Mr. Floyd, according to reporting by City View, the Fayetteville City Council is considering a policy that would allow. Let me ask you this before I shift. Have we finished with Mr. Ford? Because I feel like we want to
well,
be done all together with Mr.
no,
Ford.
no, that is a long process, because they're saying that the committee chair, which is Mrs. Branch, has
Hmm.
mentioned that we can move forward. She does not have any information in order to prepare for the parade, the banquet, or any other program, because records has not been provided for her as a guide.
Okay.
So with that, like you mentioned about the city looking at block by block curb curbside parking or parking on the street. But
Okay.
before you do that, we
Go
don't
ahead.
really. I mean, I appreciate the city doing that, but in our neighborhood, we don't have to worry about this because we already parked. You know, so we
Just pull
already
up on the
parked
grass.
in the yard. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. I mean, so these for the. I mean, it's for the upscale
well,
neighborhood.
well, and it's
So
actually for
we don't have to worry about it.
any community, right? It's for any community that has multi-use lanes. So those striped lanes that are intended for pedestrians, cyclists, and at this point, we're seeing parked cars along those lanes. So, if adopted, residents could initiate a petition to prohibit parking by block, provided 70% of affected households on each side of the street approve. This
Again,
mirrors the
T, I
city's.
mean, I understand what you're saying, T, but it doesn't have no effect in 301.
Well, let me say this. I'm in 311 and I want them to come and put in some of those lanes in my neighborhood so that I can go and petition for this. Because if you drive into my neighborhood, it's like a windy street. Okay. Now, let me say this to begin with. My neighbor has a brick mailbox that's been taken out several times by people speeding down this street and losing control on this windy road. And because people like to, and I've got a 11-foot holly bush that's recently been taken out by something similar. People like to
Mhm.
park along this windy part of the road, and we have very long driveways. I can fit 3 vehicles nose to tail along my driveway, and as can most of the homes in this neighborhood. So, Mr. Floyd, people come through, but they'll park their cars along this windy street. So now what you create is this bottleneck, and you got people going 40 miles per hour in a bottleneck. So you're coming at each other essentially head to head, where you're getting ready to have an accident. And so you got to veer quick. It's a mess. So I, for
Well,
one, see this as a benefit if the neighborhood wants it. I think I like the fact that they're saying you got to follow the same process that you need for speed humps and for traffic studies, which is you need a majority of the neighbors to say, yeah, we want this. Baby, when I tell you this is, to me, this makes sense. Now I understand people are like, but then you'll have problems. This is what I'm hearing on the other side. Then you have problems with people. Like if you have a party, where are people going to park? Listen, if you have a party, this is not an everyday occurrence. If you have a party, maybe there's some exemption that the city can build in, where if you make a request ahead of time, they can give you permit. Like there's a way to handle that. There's a way to handle that. But to just take it off the table is just weird, because it is a safety issue when you think about what those
I'm not.
lanes are for and when you think about these streets.
Well, T, you know, you live in a nice neighborhood.
You
You
do
know,
too, Mr. Floyd.
I have been over there, but when your neighborhood was built, who built the street?
The developer.
Thank you. And he is
Yeah,
going to build the street with the least amount of
absolutely.
land taken away from his property. So most likely the street is going to be just like in yours. I could say a 40 foot or 39 wide street.
Hmm.
Now you're coming along, you want to put a bike trail. Okay.
Right.
Now let's look at I don't know, you mentioned your street. I don't know if it's true or not, but let's just go down Jasper Street.
Yeah.
Okay. If you go down Jasper Street, you can walk out your house and shake the hand with the person that is passing. Okay.
Right.
You can just step. I mean, so where are
But
they
that's
gonna
why
park
people
at?
shouldn't be. But that's you. Are you talking about like when from the house, from the parking in the driveway to the people driving
No,
by?
I'm talking about walk off the step, two
Okay,
steps, and shake the neighbor hand as he go down the street.
I see what you're saying.
Because because when they go into a neighborhood, the worst the enemy to a city is your street. What I'm gonna say, the Department of Transportation, which is not in the city case, is that when they widen streets, and if you go up through Mansell Hill on, I think that's Camden Road, I think it's
Hmm.
Camden Road, you can see how when they cut the street, people front porch is about 20 foot behind the curb or
No,
25.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Okay,
then take into
so
consideration if you're starting to drop in sidewalks, if you've got sidewalks, so now you're taking more. No, I understand, but I
you
think
see
that's a case by case basis.
what
Because
that's
again,
the
I'm thinking about my neighborhood. I can only
I
think about the
understand.
application in my neighborhood. I think other
Well,
people will think about the application in their own neighborhood.
but when you look at some neighborhoods and when they say that it's going to lower the property value because they have no place in which to park, and and most communities and most houses has at least two cars.
But
Okay,
Mr. Flood, you have to get the buy-in from the community before this happens. So it's not, this is the thing.
well,
It's like fear factor is being deployed when in reality you still have
it's
control of the
good.
process as a citizen.
It's good, but then again, you just find another way, to take away my enjoyment. Okay,
And that's what the
that's all. But it's
opponents of this
okay.
are saying. Yeah, the opponents
Eh,
are saying
eh,
this is just another way for you to be able to control how I use my property. And I get
Yeah, I
that.
mean, so I mean, I'm glad that we have, because I'm glad that you have these kinds of discussion, because
Yeah,
you bring the people out who have been sitting back for a long period of time. You get
there
them
you go.
involved. So it's okay
There
for
you
the
go.
discussion. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, Mr. Floyd, let's talk county level, and then we got a really big story that I want to talk about state level that you sent over to me. So, the
Mm,
Cumberland County Board of Commissioners voted to advance plans to renovate the Crown Arena and Crown Theater, both built in the late 60s and part of the larger Crown complex. In a pair of 4-2 votes, commissioners approved hiring SFL plus A architects or NA architects to design the modernization, and Turner and Townsend Heery as the county's owner's representative. No contract amounts have been finalized. Pricing will be negotiated and brought back to the board for approval. Cost estimates for the renovation itself are expected in early April, according to county manager Clarence Greer. This follows the event to cancel the downtown Crown Event Center, which had been budgeted at $144 million and climbed to nearly $152 million before being scrapped. What are your thoughts?
Well, I look at it, Tisha, that you know, you I don't know, Tish. I don't know. But I do like the part where they saying that they are going to are going to look at making an entertainment, a sports entertainment center out that
Mhm.
way. So with that in consideration, I think it would be a good investment, because uh, out there you had about 920 parking spaces,
Mhm.
for the facility. So that take care of that. And so I think it's a good idea. Downtown, you still have to find parking uh, there. You took away 220 parking spaces for my people in the 301 that use that space to visit that facility over across the street. So you
Yeah.
took that away, and then you were talking about building I think it was a 11-story parking there. So you know, either way, it is money being spent. You need to, you know, it's good that the project is moving forward there. And and when you look at the city, this is a separate thing. The parking deck, it was built with no elevator. Now the city is going to put elevators in there at $5.7 million that they could have did it 10 years ago or 5 years ago. So, it's I think it's good to move forward, but I don't think that the county should do anything with its sand bowl or mud bowl where it is, because that gonna be additional tax money to do green space, and later on somebody come by and buy the property. You don't spend $300,000 to make
Yeah.
green space. So I think
And
it's
I'm gonna be
a
honest, I don't know if
I
green
think it's a
space
good
in a
idea.
downtown footprint makes a whole lot of sense in an area like that. It just doesn't, it's not connected for me because you want to maximize the value of your tax revenue generation in that downtown footprint. And the best way
Mhm.
to do that is to bring in commercial activity that is not tied to city or county where the taxes are not being collected. Like you want to bring in people who have to pay taxes in that footprint, but you want to make it where they're actually profitable being down there. So that's a whole
But
nother conversation for a whole nother day. Go ahead, Mr. Floyd.
but I'm saying, if you make it green space, what you want me to do? Park on Gillespie Street and just park my car to walk around because you got some green space?
Yeah, well,
I
I've
mean,
had to go
what's
down.
around?
I'll say
What's
this.
around?
I've
What's around?
I've had to go
What's
to the
around?
sheriff's department, I want to say 3 times now since they've torn up that area, and I found parking with no issue.
Yeah.
But I'm not going at the time of day where I'm not going where I got to be in there for court at 8 o'clock. I'm going to handle other
Right.
kind of business. So
Well,
I don't know. I don't know if parking is really a real issue right now because
no,
I've not experienced it.
no, I mean, I can look out the window and see that there's parking available. But anyway, no, I think it's a good idea.
So you sent me something over, Mr. Floyd, and I was like, "Ooh, that is nasty work." You sent me a message that referred to, and it was a Twitter or X, I guess it is now, an X message on Brian Anderson's X account, and essentially it was. I want to read it exactly how you said that. Hold on, Mr. Floyd, because when I saw it and I read the headline, I said, "Ooh, no." It says just in. The North Carolina Democratic Party won't share its voter turnout tools with four state legislative who have a history of overriding gubernatorial votes. So essentially, they are using voter data as leverage to discipline the party, which I thought was, like I said, and I'm gonna tell you exactly when I read it, I was like, ooh, that is petty. That's so petty. But Mr. Floyd, I think it's indicative of the culture and climate we live in. So let's talk about why this matters and why it shouldn't. So
Well,
essentially,
see,
um, go ahead.
no, no, you no, go ahead.
Okay. So the North Carolina Democratic Party has quietly restricted access to Vote Builder. This is a key voter contact and campaign management platform for four Democratic governors. At the urging of Party Chair Anderson Clayton, the party's executive council adopted the policy during a closed meeting sometime last year. The rule denies Vote Builder access to one former and three current Democratic lawmakers, including Carla Cunningham, Nassif Majid, and Shelley Willingham, and former Representative Michael Ray. Clayton said the policy applies to any Democrat who voted to override vetoes by Josh Stein in the most recent session, as well as candidates who previously overrode vetoes by former Governor Roy Cooper and are now challenging Democratic incumbents.
Well, see, you know, sometimes, and I like corporate America. Sometimes, corporate America will go back and do an assessment of their organization to see where they need to make changes to keep the organization afloat and positive and also money making. But our party do not do that. They do the same tack. Now it sounds good in what you just read. It sounds good. But the true database for voting
Mm-hmm.
lies with the state board of election.
No,
So the
absolutely.
only thing, so the only thing,
All you got to do
like
is
I
go and get
said, but
the.
you get the list and
Yeah.
then have you a computer to break it down the way that you want to have it broken down, similar to what platform they have.
But
So
Mr. Floyd,
it sounds
it's
good to the
still really,
public.
but it's still really gross. It's still really gross
Yeah,
that a party would do this
it's
to their
but
own
it sounds
their
good
own
to the
party.
public. It sounds
Yeah.
good to the public, but but you don't need that list. You can do that same list yourself. Now, we have already lost 2,000 members, voters, registered,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
now we are third. And do you think that those four-person, if elected and returned, that they're gonna have a relationship with the party?
That's
I
a
don't
good
think so,
question.
teacher.
That's a
No,
good question, Mr.
I
Floyd.
I can say to you, if you think that they have overridden vetoes in the past, okay,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna
You
see
ain't seen
more in the
you ain't
future.
seen nothing yet.
Yeah, you see, so again, Teach, it looked good. It looked good,
Yeah.
but they don't need that. They don't need it. They don't need to pay you for what they can get from their local board of education. I mean, their local board of election.
Right.
That information. So why do I need to
But
pay
Mr.
you?
Floyd, why but um why the nonsensical tactics? Like what when did we when did we become this retaliatory? And I'm not going to say we because I'm not in these parties. When did parties become this retaliatory? Has it always been this way? Is this a new construct? What is going on?
Well, Teach, I look at myself, and because I brought back projects and programs to the district, they target me. They
Hmm.
did the Criminal Accountability Commission the same way. So my question to you, Madam Waddell, we have two Democrats in the North Carolina House, and we have one senator in the North Carolina House.
Hmm.
What do you think? Do you think that those senators, that senator, and those three representatives are going to step over the line to help our community out of tier one? If they did, Chief, they would be targeted. And so they don't want to be targeted. So they're gonna, be like a parade. They're gonna march in line. Okay.
You
So
know,
we
Mr.
send them to
Floyd,
Raleigh. We send them to Raleigh, Chief. We send them to Raleigh. But when they get up to Raleigh, they forget
they
about
fall
the
in line.
district. They fall in line. And if you go back and look at what has transpired in the last several, what in the last election cycle, go back and search and see how much was delivered to our community.
Yeah. But we give them permission to behave like that as a community because we allow stuff like these erroneous redistricting, like when we see them drawing lines to include Michael Colvin into this new district instead of us standing up and saying, hey, we might like to have a Mr. Colvin as a representative, but let's make sure that he has to run in the district that is actually drawn for him to run in instead of redrawing lines. When we participate in that level of tomfoolery, we permit
Yeah.
this level of tomfoolery.
Well, I'm gonna give you another tease as we close out. In 2020, there were three African Americans that ran for statewide office, which was
Hmm.
PAC was set up to help fund those candidates that run for a statewide office. Okay. They got very little help from the Democrat Party, and none of these same individuals spoke up for that.
Hmm.
And in 24, we had two African Americans to run for a state office. They got very little support from the Democrat Party. And we had one of the persons that's a professor over Fayetteville State that helped one of the person who has an office at the state level arrive to where she is. They didn't
And
give
didn't
his
get any
wife
help when
no
his
support.
wife ran for office. Absolutely.
So yeah.
And these people don't
So
stand up
so
and say
then
anything in they don't get loud about it. And here's what's interesting, Mr.
yeah,
Floyd. We sit on this podcast and we go to bat, and I'm not even a party girl. But for me to go to bat for these Democrats who are being mistreated by the party, there needs to be some speaking up. But Mr. Floyd is happening even in the community where we have the discrepancy. We talked about this last week with the builder who has all of these development contracts and is in the process of you know trying to vie to
getting
build
another one,
on cat site
another
one.
one.
And but listen, and I told you and I've said this to you offline about 5 times. Here we are making the case for why this shouldn't be this way, but you got a builder right here in our community who understands how all of this goes. And I'm not gonna say no names because I said I wouldn't, because I'm gonna let it come out however it come out. But Mr. Floyd, we got a builder right here in this community who has been rejected and dejected and mistreated by this system, who won't speak up to teach the community what's going on, who could really come out and say, here's how it works, help us articulate this to the community to gain community support. But they don't want to because they want to stay in this system and keep getting scraps and handouts instead of coming forward and saying, this is how this is going to help shift the culture. So what if you get popped on your hand? So what? Listen, so what if I never get elected to another office again because y'all think I'm problematic? What I'm doing is making sure that at the end of the day, I'll be problematic to make room for somebody else to come into this system and not have to deal with the problems that I had to deal with.
Well, I know it's time for us to close these, but one
Yes,
thing
sir.
you
And
have
I'm
to look
done.
at,
I'm off my soapbox.
we we know we are very skilled, Chief,
Yes.
in helping other members out of 301 build generational wealth.
Yes.
We are skilled at that if you understand what I mean. We are
But we don't
skilled.
even know we're doing it. We don't even know
And
that that's what's happening. The large population, until we talked about the low income housing and how it works, and we are giving the most generic, general answers because
No,
we
no.
don't even know how to make it make sense. But until we talked
Teach,
about that last
teach,
week, our voter population didn't even know that's what was happening.
teach, please, and I'm gonna talk with Larry to talk with you about this. Please stop talking about affordable house. Start talking about affordable apartments. Okay. I mean, I'm gonna talk with him next time I see him because
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, I mean, we get along together good, but they're not building affordable housing. They're building affordable apartment with guarantee tenants.
And
Remind you now.
guaranteed payment because they're going to get paid because the government is paying these rents. So this system, but again, our people didn't even know. And when I say our people, I mean our constituency. Thank you to the 4 or
Mm.
500 of you who watch us every week. They now know how to start looking at this to understand how this works, where it wasn't even something that was talked about before. So that's all I got, Mr. Floyd. What you want to leave our people with today?
Now, be careful how these individuals communicate to you. Perfect example of what we just ended our program with is that they presented this to the group that they worked with on Thursday and presented to the city council on Monday. Okay,
Yeah.
and remind you now. So be very careful with the relationship that you build and the trust that you put in people and how they wine and dine you only to trick you. So have a wonderful week, Madam Bonnie.
Absolutely. Eyes wide
They
open,
play
mouth
Halloween
shut.
with you.
Yeah.
They play
Eyes wide
Halloween with you.
open.
Trick or treat.
For sure.
Trick or
For
treat.
sure.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Floyd,
Have a
eyes wide
wonderful week.
open, mouth shut, ears open. Pay attention to what's going
Mm.
on, people, because there's stuff brewing. Um, I want to leave you with my favorite thing to say. In this season, there's no justice apart from righteousness. There's no righteousness apart from Jesus. So if you want justice, seek Jesus. Have a wonderful day. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and follow. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode.